The Senate will come to order. Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members and guests, please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Majors, please call the roll.
Senators Aguilar, Balmer, Baumgardner, Carroll, Cook, Crowder, Donovan, Garcia, Grantham, Guzman, Heath, Hill,
Absent.
Hodge, Holbert, John, Johnston, Jones, Kafalis, Kerr, Lambert, Lundberg, Marble, Martinez Humenic, Martinez Humenic, Merrifield, Neville, Newell, Roberts, Scheffel, Scott, Sonnenberg, Stedman, Todd, Ulibarri, Woods, Hill. Mr. President.
Here with 35 present, 0 absent, 0 excused, we have a quorum. Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the reading of the journal for yesterday be dispensed with as corrected by the Secretary. All right, you want the date. Mr. President,
Senator Sonnenberg.
I move the reading of the journal for March 10th be dispensed with and approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The motion is approved. The journal is adopted. Committee reports.
March 10, 2015, Committee on Finance, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1150 be referred favorably to Committee on Appropriations. March 10, 2015, Committee on Finance, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1079 be postponed indefinitely.
Senate Services.
March 11, 2015, correctly engrossed, Senate Bills 46, 137, and 138. Correctly re-engrossed, Senate Bill 122. Correctly revised, House Bill 1012, 1032, 1075, 1078, 1144, and 1207. House Joint Resolution 1015. Correctly re-revised, House Bills 1060, 1092, 1117, 1122, and 1092. Correctly enrolled, Senate Bills 2, 43, 49, 51, 53, 55, 71, and 111.
Message from the reviser.
March 10, 2015, we herewith transmit without comment House Bill 1175, 1183, 1213, and 1254. Without comment as amended, House Bills 1026, 1095, 1104, 1133, 1149, 1153, 1211, 1217, 1223, and 1225. Without comment as amended, Senate Bills 13 and 47.
Introduction of resolutions.
Senate Joint Resolution 13 by Senators Scheffel and Garcia and Representatives Lawrence and McCann concerning the designation of First Responder Appreciation Day.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. To move the Senate Joint Resolution 13 lay over to March 13.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Senate Joint Resolution 13 will lay over until March 13th. Majority Leader Scheffel.
Senate Joint Resolution 14 by Senator Crowder and Representative Vigil concerning the designation of Colorado Highway 159 as the Castilla County Veterans Memorial Highway.
Majority Leader Sheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the Senate Joint Resolution 14 lay over to March 27.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Senate Joint Resolution 14 will lay over until March 27. Introduction of bills.
Senate Bill 205 by Senators Roberts and Garcia and Representatives Kaiser and Hamner concerning the utilization of Veterans Fire Corps program by the Division of Fire Prevention and Control in the Department of Public Safety.
Senate Bill 205 is assigned to Judiciary.
Senate Bill 206 by Senators Roberts and Hodge and Representatives Garnett and Kaiser concerning the implementation of the 2012 Conservation Easement Program performance audit recommendations for conservation easements donated on or after January 1st, 2015, and in connection therewith addressing the issue of phasing lowering transaction costs for agricultural producers and easing endangered species mitigation.
Senate Bill 206 is assigned to Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy.
Senate Bill 207 by Senators Baumgartner and Scott and Representative Brown concerning the authority of the state to enter into lease purchase agreements for the refinancing of the Colorado Bureau of Investigation's Grand Junction Regional Office and Forensic Laboratory.
Senate Bill 207 is assigned to Finance.
Senate Bill 208 by Senator Gonzalez and Representative Brown concerning capital-related expenditures in connection with granting the controller authority to allow expenditures for capital construction budget appropriations if non-monetary adjustments are needed when the legislature is not in session, adding a capital development committee-approved waiver for the arts and public places requirement, and clarifying the types of capital construction projects to which the arts and public places requirement applies.
Senate Bill 208 is assigned to Finance.
Senate Bill 209 by Senator Balmer and Representative Williams concerning an amendment to the specified statutes governing the management of the financial affairs of a unit owners association under the Colorado Common Interest Ownership Act so as to exempt communities in which a majority of units designated for residential use are timeshare units.
Senate Bill 209 is assigned to Business, Labor, and Technology.
Senate Bill 210 by Senator Woods concerning creation of the Title Insurance Commission.
Senate Bill 210 is assigned to Business, Labor, and Technology.
Senate Bill 211 by Senator Lambert and Representative Rankin concerning an automatic funding mechanism for payment of future costs attributable to certain of the state's capital assets.
Senate Bill 211 is assigned to Appropriations.
House Bill 1042 by Representative Foote and Senator Cook concerning requiring pre-sentence reports to include a statement concerning a defendant's eligibility for release from incarceration.
House Bill 1042 is assigned to Judiciary.
House Bill 1046 by Representative Moreno and Senator Scott concerning authorization for the Executive Director of the Department of Transportation to waive department project costs estimated based statutory contract amount limits when awarding a highway project contract.
House Bill 1046 is assigned to Transportation.
House Bill 1114 by Representative Sane and Senators Woods and Ulibarri concerning prohibition against assistance by the state, including but not limited to any member of the Colorado National Guard serving in his or her official capacity with enforcement of certain federal laws relating to investigation, prosecution, and detention of individuals that were initially enacted in the Federal National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2012.
House Bill 1114 is assigned to State, Veterans, and Military Affairs.
House Bill 1130 by Representatives Nordberg and Ryden and Senators Garcia and Hill concerning voting by military and overseas voters in municipal elections in connection therewith extending certain deadlines that govern the conduct of municipal elections to ensure that such voters have the same ability to vote in such elections as they do in federal, state, and county elections.
House Bill 1130 is assigned to State, Veterans, and Military Affairs.
House Bill 1184 by Representative Lontine and Senator Hill concerning the operation of charter school networks.
House Bill 1184 is assigned to Education.
House Bill 1191 by Representative Pedersen and Senator Grantham concerning the addition of dentists to the Physician Designation Disclosure Act.
House Bill 1191 is assigned to Health and Human Services.
House Bill 1202 by Representative Singer and Senator Woods concerning the ability of the licensing authority to reissue expired alcohol beverage licenses.
House Bill 1202 is assigned to Business, Labor, and Technology.
House Bill 1204 by Representative Pabon and Senator Kerr concerning the creation of a distillery pub license.
House Bill 1204 is assigned to Business, Labor, and Technology.
House Bill 1244 by Representatives Singer and Nordberg and Senators John and Lundberg concerning the ability of members of Colorado of a club license under the Colorado Liquor Code to remove from the club a resealed container of partially consumed vinous liquor purchased at the club.
House Bill 1244 is assigned to Business, Labor, and Technology. Majority Leader Sheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate proceed out of order for purposes of hearing Senate Joint Resolution 12.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The Senate will proceed out of order for the purpose of hearing Senate Joint Resolution 12. Mr. Majors.
Senate Joint Resolution 12 by Senators Aguilar and Grantham and Representatives Lonti and Landgraf concerning recognition of the 25th anniversary of the signing into law of the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990.
Senator Grantham.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Joint Resolution 12 and ask that it be read at length except for the be it further resolved.
Mr. Majors.
Whereas, on July 26, 1990, President George H.W. Bush signed the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, ADA, into law. And whereas this historic act was the world's first comprehensive declaration of equality for people with disabilities, and its passage made the United States the international leader on this human rights issue. And whereas approximately 18.7% of the United States population has some kind of disability, and whereas approximately 6.2% of Coloradans have a significant health problem or disability, and whereas the ADA prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities in all areas of public life, including jobs, transportation, and all public and private places that are open to the general public. And whereas the purpose of the ADA is to make sure that people with disabilities have the same rights and opportunities as everyone else. And whereas the ADA established a clear and comprehensive national mandate for the elimination of discrimination against individuals with disabilities. And whereas the ADA has expanded opportunities for Americans with disabilities by reducing barriers, changing perceptions, and increasing full participation in community life. And whereas on July 26, 2015, we will celebrate the 25th anniversary of the signing of the ADA. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the 70th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the House of Representatives concurring herein, that we, the members of the Colorado General Assembly, recognize the significance and intent of President George H.W. Bush and his efforts to secure access, inclusion, and independence for people with disabilities. That we honor and support this legacy by encouraging legitimate and substantive efforts to secure inclusion in society by seeking to eliminate barriers to employment, essential health care, and physical and sensory access for people with disabilities in Colorado. That we honor and support this legacy by encouraging the Colorado Executive Branch to seek the guidance of the disability community and consumer advocates in the development of services and supports that are efficient and effective in their mission to eliminate segregation of persons with disabilities from society. That we celebrate and recognize the progress that has been made by reaffirming the principles of equality and inclusion, and that the Colorado General Assembly hereby reaffirms that Colorado will work toward full ADA compliance.
Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, you may be seated. Thank you so much for joining Senator Grantham and I in acknowledging the 25th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, which will happen July 26th. There actually is a bus going across the country in acknowledgement of this act. It's a legacy tour, and there will be a rally on the west steps of the Capitol this morning at 11:30 a.m., and you're all welcome to attend. As the mother of a child who uses a wheelchair, I had no idea what the impact of the ADA was until, of course, this is a personal part of my life. I've had the privilege of traveling overseas, and once my daughter was more than 60 pounds, we had to start not taking her overseas because they don't have the same access to things that we do here in the United States. And it was interesting to experience firsthand how people who have the mobility impairment can't experience what those of us who are able to walk can experience. Unfortunately, there are still many strides that need to be made even in the United States. I think about our efforts to have my daughter educated inclusively in a private school where we had been rejected multiple times. But I'm grateful that, especially in Colorado, we have great organizations like the Colorado Cross Disability Coalition and Advocacy Denver that help families navigate this world and figure out where they are protected and help them access those protections and find places where maybe just a little bit of education could help. And so thank you for helping us acknowledge this wonderful work that we did in our country 25 years ago and that we continue to build on today.
Senator Grantham.
Thank you, Mr. President. And colleagues, I appreciate your attentiveness on this and your support on this resolution, recognizing the 25 years of the ADA. Sometimes you find yourself at odds with certain things and in strange places when you're in this building. And I look back on my time prior to the Senate being in City Council, and sometimes the ADA was a real thorn, dealing with regulations and rules and trying to deal with, renovations of historic buildings and in other ways. I've experienced that with appraising and many different facets of the cross sections of my own life. But you come up here and I had a conversation just the other day with someone who came in my office, and it really sets it into perspective. This fellow was a very active person. He was a marathon runner. He is currently one of those that you will see here in the Capitol occasionally. We see him across the street occasionally, and he is permanently wheelchair bound now. But just the perspective that one has and the change in perspective when you are active, when you don't have to worry about taking 4 flights of stairs, when you don't have to worry about whether or not you're going to find a ramp or an elevator. It changes your perspective when all of a sudden you are bound to that wheelchair. You're bound to a system that will make it's difficult. I don't pretend to understand it directly, but I appreciate the perspective that was given to me that day in how someone so active could be all of a sudden rendered not completely, but rendered helpless in just day-to-day activities. And the ADA has gone a long ways in helping make some of that better. And it's a good perspective to have, I think, and to be given when we're so accustomed to being able to simply walk up the center aisle. It's a simple thing for us. It's not so simple for others. The ADA has helped make some of that a better reality for folks. So I'd ask for your support.
Is there further discussion? Senator Aguilar.
Thank you. And I want to thank Senator Grantham for his support on this bill. Having had the privilege of growing up with and working with advocates for people with disabilities, I apologize, but I have to tell you, he's not bound to the wheelchair. He uses the wheelchair. But I think, the perspective is correct, that people really are limited by what we do in society, and what they could do is limitless if we could only see it that way. So thank you all for your support.
Senator Grantham.
Thank you, Mr. President. And no one has ever really accused me of being politically correct on that, so I apologize.
Is there further discussion? Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Joint Resolution 12 is adopted. Senator Grantham.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the morning roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Without objection, the morning roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would request that House Bill 1032 be removed from the third reading of Bill's consent calendar and added to the end of the third reading of Bill's regular calendar.
House Bill 1032 will be removed from the third reading of Bill's consent calendar and placed at the end of the third reading of Bill's calendar. Out of order for 12 and in consideration of 13? No? You just wrote on your... Okay. Third reading of Bill's consent calendar. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title of the remaining bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar?
House Bill House Bill 1012 by Representative Becker J. and Senator Sonnenberg concerning a sales and use tax exemption for dyed diesel. House Bill 1207 by Representative Melton and Senator Todd concerning the use of earphones while driving.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate adopt bills listed on the third reading of bills consent calendar, which includes House Bill 1012 and House Bill 1207.
Is there further discussion on any of the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar? Are there any no votes on any of the bills? With 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1012 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Baumgardner, Senator Woods, Senator Grantham, Senator Crowder, Senator Neville, Senator Lundberg, Senator Scott, with 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1207 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Woods, Senator Lundberg, Senator Lambert. Co-sponsors: Senator Kerr, Senator Scott. Co-sponsors: Senator Baumgardner, third reading of bills. Mr. Majors, please read the title of Senate Bill 137.
Senate Bill 137 by Senator Balmer and Representatives Del Grosso and Janal concerning business entities permitted to provide the program of all-inclusive care for the elderly.
Senator Balmer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move Senate Bill 137 on third reading and final passage.
Is there further discussion? Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I want to call your attention to a flyer that was given to me today to hand out by the Hospice and Palliative Care Association of the Rockies. The Hospice and Palliative Care Association had a meeting Monday night and came out opposed to Senate Bill 137. And I wanted to read this to you because I had actually experienced some of what they're discussing. What they say is that while we understand the at-a-glance reasonableness of this bill to allow PACE programs to operate as for-profit propriety entities, Hospice and Palliative Care of the Rockies has concerns and opposes this legislation. The well-known health economist Harold Miller emphatically believes that capitation cannot be successful unless accompanied by altruism. We have learned this lesson well in the hospice industry. There have been many exposés recently published in the New York Times and Washington Post highlighting the atrocities of for-profit hospital care. Federal health policy has tried to address this through the promulgation of no less than 14 new regulations in the past 3 years. The impact of these regulations financially on good, not-for-profit providers has been crippling. We believe that the minute the doors open for-profit PACE, similar federal policies will follow. The PACE programs that are small, community-based, altruistic, and committed to doing the right things by clients will suffer. Our concern is that for-profit programs will have deleterious effects as they will make profit through volume and skimping on services for the clients. Adding profit organizations introduces the possibility that there will be different financial incentives than not-for-profit organizations who serve as a public benefit. This is a managed care program in which the potential and incentive to withhold access to services could be in conflict with the financial incentive of the stockholders. This presents the moral and ethical dilemma of whether or not to provide high-cost services when needed. We don't believe the fragile Medicare Medicaid population will benefit when a capitated system is run by a for-profit company. We are concerned that this legislation will potentially lower the level of quality of care received by our most vulnerable senior population. Smaller programs and nonprofits are on unequal ground for expansion. This bill benefits large PACE programs. This change in the Colorado law is being advanced by one PACE organization in Colorado. Increasing PACE in any community may negatively impact the number of hospice patients served by the hospices in the same region. And PACE providers do not have to follow hospice conditions of participation, and therefore there are no guarantees that there's no guarantees the patients that PACE does not does not truly deliver hospice services. They give a real-life example of one member of a hospice in their organization where the family member came to the hospice office and was concerned about the care her loved one was receiving, and she wanted this person to be in hospice. The PACE staff, including the physician, had dismissed her concerns and would not allow her to transfer to hospice. I had the opportunity last summer to travel to the Western Slope, to Grand Junction, and to the San Luis Valley, and I visited there actually with their hospice programs. And they were struggling because of the growing interest in hospice by for-profit corporations. And what they had found in Grand Junction in particular was that the for-profit hospices preferentially recruited people with terminal cancer in the last stages of their diseases and left them with people with chronic diseases or diseases like Alzheimer's whose death was not certain, and which was a much financially riskier situation. And they were starting to experience problems becoming sustainable because they were getting disproportionate adverse selection of the sickest hospice patients. And it's a beautiful hospice in Grand Junction. I'd encourage any of you to visit. Similarly, in San Luis Valley, they were experiencing this. What was interesting is many of you probably last year, like I did, got emails about a new law Medicare had passed to try and put a cap on some of the exploding hospice costs by refusing to pay for non-hospice medications for Medicare patients. And thankfully, our congressional delegation stepped up and stopped that from happening. But I think sometimes there are unintended consequences, and clearly in caring for people who are severely disabled, and in order to qualify for a PACE program, you need to be severely disabled. The costs are going to be higher, the risks are going to be higher, and so with that, I just wanted to make sure you were aware of this and state that I apologize, Senator Balmer, but I will be a no on Senate Bill 137. Thank you.
Is there further discussion? Are there any no votes? Senator Aguilar? Senator Merrifield? Senator Jones? Minority Leader Carroll? Senator Crowder? With 30 ayes, 5 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 137 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Mr. Majors, please read the title to House Bill 1078.
House Bill 1078 by Representatives Nordberg and McCain and Senators John and Woods concerning immediate reporting of missing children who are in the custody of a state agency to law enforcement for inclusion in national crime databases.
Senator Woods.
Thank you, Mr. President. My colleague and friend from Wheat Ridge and I move House Bill 1078 and ask for on third and final reading, third reading and final passage, and ask for the use of the present roll call.
Is there further discussion on House Bill 1078? Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1078 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Mr. Majority Leader, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Heath, Senator Kafalis, Minority Leader Carroll, Senator Lundberg, Senator Roberts, Senator Aguilar, Senator Kerr, Senator Scott, Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator Grantham, Senator Ulibarri, Senator Lambert, Senator Johnston, Senator Garcia, Senator Crowder, Senator Cook, Senator Guzman, Senator Donovan, Senator Merrifield, Senator Todd, Senator Hodge, Senator Stedman, Senator Marble, Senator Newell, Senator Hill. Co-sponsors. Please have the President. Mr. Majors, please read the title of House Bill 1075.
House Bill 1075 by Representative Janal and Senator Crowder concerning the authority for a registered naturopathic doctor to treat children who are under 2 years of age.
Senator Crowder.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1075 and ask for a aye vote.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for permission to offer a third reading amendment.
Please explain the request.
Something I missed on the original bill. It is a little bit more than a technical amendment, but it's a small amendment. If you go to the first page or second page of the bill requests that naturopaths provide the parent or legal guardian of the child a copy of the most recent immunization schedules recommended by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. However, it also continues and recommends and it requires that the naturopath recommend that the parent or legal guardian follow the immunization schedule. Folks, the issue we have here is not the question of immunizations per se. It's a question of what we're going to do as a body, as a legislative body, to require those who are treating patients, what we're going to dictate that they must do.
Senator Neville, let's discuss that once we are on the amendment. This is about permission. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Permission is granted. Please move your amendment.
I move Amendment L008 and ask for your support.
Mr. Majors.
Amendment L008 to House Bill 1075 by Senator Neville. Amend revised bill, page 2, line 13, strike services recommends
Neville.
that.
Please just continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I was explaining, basically, this is a question of basically this body actually putting in statute what a doctor or a physician or a naturopath must do, is required to do. So we're basically dictating treatment. Now, this is regarding, of course, immunizations, but I want to, just basically make a point that if we can do this as a body, what are we going to dictate next that our doctors or naturopaths must do? And of course, the reason that people seek treatment from a naturopathic doctor is a lot of times it's basically to take a slightly different path of treatment that they might recommend. So I find this in direct conflict, and I don't believe that the legislature should be dictating any kind of treatment to a patient. We should leave that up to our professionals that we trust.
Is there further discussion on the amendment? Senator Crowder?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to ask for a no vote on this resolution. I would like to, if you look at what the resolution does.
The amendment?
I'm sorry, the amendment. Thank you, Mr. President. What it does is it strikes some services and recommends that and services, and then page 2 strike lines 14 and 50. What I'd like to do is tell you what actually the bill says. Provides to the parent or legal guardian of a child a copy of the most recent immunization schedule recommended by the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in the Federal Department of Health and Human Services, and recommends that the parent or guardian or legal guardian follow the immunization schedule. What we have is a situation where, in my opinion, all this, the way it is actually in the bill, it actually recommends what is available to the parents. I do not believe that by sharing information with the parent is contrary to what we believe. I do believe that, you know, if there is all it is a recommendation. We're not telling, it's not a mandate for people to get this immunization, but I do believe people need to be advised of such things as polio vaccine, in which we almost eradicated, measles, which is a huge problem now. But I think parents need that information, and what they do with it is up to them. But this is a recommendation of what the disease for Center for Disease Control, just all it is a recommendation. So I would ask for a no vote on this L008. I do not believe it necessary, and I do believe that government's role is to share the information on what is available and the recommendations of such, but it's, you know, it's not a mandate for the parents can continue to do what they wish. But, you know, if I were a young parent, I would like that information as to what is available. And so therefore, again, I would ask for no vote on the amendment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, my colleague from Alamosa, I agree that when we're talking about any kind of information, however, there's a piece that he left out that is extremely important. This bill actually says a naturopathic doctor shall not treat a child who is less than 2 years of age unless the naturopathic doctor provides to the parent or legal guardian of the child a copy of the most recent immunization schedule recommended by the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in the Federal Department of Health and Human Services. I am not trying to change that by my amendment. So providing information, I believe, is important. The piece that I have a problem with, it goes on, and it says that doctor, basically naturopathic doctor, shall not treat a child unless they recommend that the parent or legal guardian follow the immunization schedule from the CDC. That basically is counter to what we allow under Colorado law already. We allow families and doctors and naturopathic doctors to make those decisions based upon what is best for their patients. And some of these patients have situations in their family where there is a history of issues regarding immunizations. Are we going to be here as a legislature and dictate that naturopathic doctor has to go outside of their possible scope of what they might see based upon that information and require them? Otherwise, the threat is they will not be able to treat these children. This is not about information. This is about mandating a specific recommendation that doctor must make, and that's why I asked for an aye vote on this important. The other thing too, folks, if we can do this with this, what else can we do it with? What else can we require doctors to do? I ask for an aye vote.
Doctor? Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I ask for a no vote on this amendment. And there are a couple of things I want to point out. One is that we did last year, I think it was Senator John carried a bill where we asked the Department of Public Health and Environment to have doctors recommend that patients who are at risk get screened for hepatitis C. And the basis for that bill was that it was a scientifically based recommendation. Now, in spite of patients and people's personal feelings about immunizations, the data and science supporting them is strong. And I want to read to you from a letter that the naturopathic physicians sent in support of this bill. And what they say is that an overwhelming body of research makes clear that the benefits of vaccination in reducing serious infectious diseases in our community far outweighs the risk of individual harm. And they also say that they think that if patients use naturopathic physicians as their primary care physicians, if they are to serve them as such, our doctors need to be able to provide this critical public health service. And so even the naturopathic doctors recognize that the science behind immunizations is indisputable. It only states the patient needs to that the doctor needs to recommend them. There is no mandate here that patients actually accept them. And so I would ask for a no vote on this amendment.
Let me remind colleagues that just like in committees, we are referencing information through the chair or the president in this case, and we will refrain from using each other's names. Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Mr. President, might I point out for your edification and anyone else who might be listening.
You may not infer about my edification either.
Edification.
But you may.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate your correction of my terminology. But let me point out that there is a mandate, Mr. President, within the bill, and it does instruct the naturopath that you must take this position. And for that reason, I will be supporting the amendment, because the amendment leaves in place the essence of the requirement, as I would see it, which is to provide the information to the family. I believe that is the most appropriate policy, and it doesn't violate anybody's conscience on anything. It simply says state policy says that when you have a child under 2, you provide the parents the information on what is the recommended immunization schedule. End of story. Good amendment. Thank you.
Is there further discussion? Are there any no votes? Senator Aguilar? Minority Leader Carroll? Senator Ulibarri? Senator John? Senator Newell? Senator Kafalis? Senator Guzman? Senator Jones? Senator Roberts? Senator Johnston? These are no votes on the amendment. Senator Kerr? Senator Newell? Senator Donovan? Senator Crowder? Senator Merrifield? Senator Garcia? Senator Todd? Senator Hodge? Senator Stedman? Senator Martinez-Humenick? With 16 ayes, 19 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Amendment 8 is lost. We are now back to House Bill 1075. Are there any no votes? Senator Lambert, Senator Woods, Senator Marble, Senator Neville, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Balmer, Senator Scott, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Holbert, Senator Grantham. With 25 ayes, 10 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1075 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Merrifield, Senator Heath, Senator Kafalis, Minority Leader Carroll, Senator Kerr, Senator Newell, Senator John, Senator Todd. Co-sponsors: Mr. Majors, please read the title of Senate Bill 178.
Senate Bill 178 by Senator Newell and Representative Danielson concerning the continuation of the Colorado Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing and in connection therewith implementing the recommendations of 2014 Census Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
Senator Newell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 178 and on third and final reading, ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion? Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 178 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Heath, Senator Crowder, Senator Merrifield, Senator Aguilar, Senator Todd, Senator Guzman, Senator Kafalis, Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator John, Senator Kerr, Senator Stedman, Senator Donovan, Senator Jones, Senator Johnston, Mr. Majors, please read the title to House Bill 1144.
House Bill 1144 by Representative Primavera and Senator Todd concerning the prohibition of synthetic plastic microbeads in personal care products.
Senator Todd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. And I move House Bill 1144 on third and final reading and ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion? Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, on second reading, I recommended, Mr. President, on second reading, I recommended that people do their homework on this bill and determine what the facts really are. Mr. President, recognizing that you are a busy man, and frankly, a lot of people are busy around here, and it's not always possible to do all the research on everything. I see it most appropriate to spend just a few minutes reviewing the facts so that you can appreciate the real dynamics of this bill. And there's a point that I make that I'll hold off until I give you some of the facts. I do, Mr. President, I am quite grateful that the sponsor of the bill did provide some actual microbeads, which, Mr. President, I would invite you to come and have a look at them under the microscope at my desk at a later time, so that you can understand just how huge these things are. I estimate there may be a couple hundred microbeads on this little spot that you can look at them under the microscope. But here's the point. Mr. President, we've been assured that microbeads are the scourge of our waterways and that they are such a significant problem that we, the state of Colorado, must step into this area of private commerce and literally ban them from being manufactured, from being sold, from being used in any way in commerce in the state of Colorado. Now, that's a pretty major step. That is a very major step for the state of Colorado to step into private commerce and say, this cannot be used. So, what is the problem? Well, the problem, we're told, is it's choking fish, it's clogging our waterways, it's creating havoc in our water treatment areas. But if you do the research, if you just look for the information available on the scourge of microbeads, you'll discover that there's been one actual scientific inquiry into this of any substance. At least that's what's quoted in all of the sources available that I have found. And that is that someone took a boat out on the Great Lakes and drug a net behind to collect what they could find in the water. And they found, and there seems to be some differences of the precise number, but the average that they found of these microbeads was between 17,000 and 43,000 particles per square kilometer. That's what the reports give. Now, never mind the fact that in terms of determining what is in a volume of water, that a square kilometer is completely meaningless, because that's a two-dimensional metric. But understanding that their means for determining this is to take this big net and drag behind a boat and apparently extrapolate, okay, we've drug it over such and such an area, now what would that translate into a square kilometer? They come up with this number of 17,000 or 43,000, depending on which one is giving the report. So let's take a more somewhat aggressive number of 30,000. And let's presume that that net is scooping up 10 feet of water. That's as a matter of fact, let's simplify that even more so, because we're in the metric system, and say that it's 3 meters, which is slightly less than 10 feet. So if you pick up 3 meters of water over a square kilometer, you're talking about, Mr. President, 3 million cubic meters of water. Or if you want to translate that into an actual volume, that's 3 billion, with a B, 3 billion liters. So, if we've got 30,000 of these particles in 3 billion liters, boil that down to 1 particle per 100,000 liters. 1 particle for every 100,000 liters of water. And that's actually the problem that we're addressing here. In the Great Lake that was found to have the most of these microbeads, we're not talking about other debris of any sort, but we're talking about 1 particle for every 100,000 liters of water. Mr. President, I submit to you that that is not a problem. That this has been blown way out of proportion. In second reading, I called it much to do about nothing. And that is, in fact, what it is. And this leads me to my real point, is we are wasting our time on legislation that deals with problems that don't exist. And this, in fact, is that. If this is a problem of companies being sued by extreme environmental perspectives, then let's deal with tort reform. Let's make a bill that really works. But in this one, where we just step in and ban commercial use of a very harmless, and by the way, a microbead is a small dot, you can come and look at these little specks, of polyethylene, which is a very benign material. As a matter of fact, in fine art photography, a polyethylene sleeve is what's used as an archival storage for fine art prints because it doesn't outgas anything. It's so stable it doesn't hurt anything. So a microbead is, much to do about very, very, very little. And I would submit to you, Mr. President, that a vote for this is a vote for so much government that it's completely unnecessary, and actually it's a bit of an affront to the private commerce that we should be encouraging in the state of Colorado, rather than shutting things down because of some fear somebody has. Oh, and one final footnote, Mr. President, that is to note that the industry themselves that use these microbeads have decided to discontinue them. It's going to take them a few years to get them out of the flow, and that, curiously, is what this ban is stretched out over as well. So why in the world are we banning a product that's being discontinued in use to protect against a fear that has no scientific basis? I beg your consideration on this, Mr. President, that I simply say that I'm a no vote because this is a problem that should not be put in Colorado statutes. Thank you very much for your time and your attention.
Is there further discussion? Are there any no votes? Senator Lundberg, Mr. Majority Leader, Senator Neville, Senator Lambert, Senator Cook, Senator Woods, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Baumgartner, Senator Scott, Senator Marble, Senator Holbert, Senator Hill, Senator Grantham, please include the President. With 21 ayes, 14 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1144 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Merrifield, Senator Jones, Senator Heath, Senator Guzman, Mr. Majors, please read the title of Senate Bill 46.
Senate Bill 46 by Senator Grantham and Representative Moreno concerning reducing the cost of attainment of renewable energy standards by electric utilities that are not investor-owned and in connection therewith allowing purchases of electricity from community solar gardens by cooperative electric associations to qualify as retail distributed generation.
Senator Grantham.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of Senate Bill 46 on third reading and final passage and ask for the use of the present roll call.
Is there further discussion? Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 46 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Majority Leader Scheffel, Senator Marble, Senator Lundberg, Minority Leader Carroll, Senator Woods, Senator Aguilar, Senator Kafalis, Senator Guzman, Senator Lambert, Senator Crowder, Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator Donovan, Senator John, Senator Johnston, Senator Ulibarri, Senator Merrifield, Senator Todd, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Cook, Senator Roberts, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Hodge, Senator Scott, Senator Newell, Senator Garcia. Co-sponsors: Senator Heath. Please have the President. Mr. Majors, please read the title of House Bill 1032.
House Bill 1032 by Representative Singer and Senator Aguilar concerning the additional licensed mental health professionals as authorized providers of mental health services to minors who are at least 15 years of age.
Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1032 on third reading and final passage and ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion? Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I oppose this bill for a couple of reasons. First of all, it sets up another barrier between parents and between their children. If parents don't have to be notified of treatment that's being given to their children, if children can actually go and get treatment, and I'm assuming most of these professionals do not do this treatment for free, then parents are left with no opinion except they're left with the bill. And I think it's a bad policy, so I would urge a no vote.
Is there further discussion? Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to point out that this doesn't change underlying policy. What it does is add other licensed mental health professionals to the list of people currently authorized to provide this service.
Is there further discussion? Are there any no votes? Senator Neville, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Marble, Senator Gardner, Senator Holbert, Senator Cook, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Woods, Senator Lambert, Senator Grantham, Senator Scott. No votes. With 25 ayes, 10 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1032 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Guzman, Minority Leader Carroll, Senator Kafalis, Senator Heath, Senator Todd, Senator Kerr, Senator Hodge, Senator Stedman, Senator Merrifield, Senator Newell. Consideration of conference committee reports. Mr. Majors.
Senate Bill 85 by Senator Martinez, Dominican Representatives Winter and Buck concerning the expansion of the Colorado Cottage Foods Act and in connection therewith increasing the net revenue a producer can earn under the act.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate lay over consideration of conference committee reports, which includes Senate Bill 85, to March 13.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Consideration of conference committee reports for Senate Bill 85 will be laid over until March 13th. Signing of bills.
March 10, 2015, the President signed Senate Bills 57, 142, and 159, House Bills 1059, House Joint Resolutions 1009, 1012, and 1014.
Committee reports.
March 10, 2015, Mr. President, the Committee on Local Government has had it in consideration as at a hearing on the following appointments and recommends the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the State Housing Board for terms expiring January 31st, 2019. Raymond Timothy Hudner of Grand Junction, Colorado, a Republican and resident of the 3rd Congressional District, reappointed. Barbara Cleland of Aurora, Colorado, a Republican and resident of the 6th Congressional District, reappointed.
Announcements. Senator Todd.
Thank you, Mr. President. And colleagues, I want to just call attention to a notice that was on your desk today. And this is to encourage all of us to dress in blue tomorrow. We will have a resolution, and this is to call attention to colon cancer. And it's a very serious conversation and a very serious topic, but I would urge you to read and just become apprised of the knowledge and the importance of this topic. And again, it makes a lot of us very uncomfortable when we start talking about our bodies, but this is something that is preventable. And if any of us have had family history or people who have suffered from colon cancer, it is something to take very seriously. And so I would urge you to please read the facts and become informed about that, and wear blue tomorrow, just in unity. For many of you gentlemen that are wearing blue suits already, you've got it covered, but would encourage you to join us tomorrow in wearing blue. Thank you.
We will give credit to those wearing blue today in advance. Further announcements. Senator Donovan.
I would like to request a moment of personal privilege, please.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to welcome some of our guests in the chamber today as part of our Live Well Colorado Day at the Capitol. Live Well Colorado is a statewide nonprofit whose mission is to reduce obesity in Colorado through healthy eating and active living. It's having its day at the Capitol this morning, so as you see them in the hallways or in your office, please make time to hear from our community members and our ambassadors that are here today, representing 22 locally led Live Well communities spread across the state. If they have asked for your time, we certainly do appreciate you making your time and your schedule to hear their concerns that should reflect your local community.
Senator Martinez-Humenick.
Thank you, Mr. President. Everybody should have a jump rope on your desk, and these were provided by Live Well Colorado in an effort to get us all to exercise in your office when you have some spare time.
Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe many of our guests have left the chamber as they had other events scheduled this morning. But if those in the chamber with the Live Well Day at the Capitol will please stand, and will you join me in welcoming them to the Capitol today? Thank you.
Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, they have left the chamber, most of them, but this morning we have members of the Douglas County Business Alliance with us here in the Capitol. And Senator Scheffel and I are my colleague from Douglas County and I are so proud to represent a county that is ranked #2 in the nation for attracting companies and jobs. We're ranked #2 in the nation if you look at high school graduation rate and low poverty rate. And we now have the 6th highest per capita income demographic in the nation. If you see folks from Douglas County Business Alliance, please reach out to them and welcome to the Capitol. We are proud to be an economic force in our state and really to bring jobs for everyone. Thank you so much.
Further announcements, Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to make sure that you're aware and saw your little flyer from the Weed and Pest Control reception tonight. Members, these are ag folks that are trying to take care of our land, trying to do the best thing to take care of the property and leave it better than it was when they got it. I would urge you to drop by there and say hello tonight. Thank you.
Senator Sonnenberg, what are they serving?
That's a good question, but I'll bet it's not weed.
Senator Neville, did you have something? Senator Newell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I hope it's not chocolate-covered cockroaches tonight. Not cockroaches, what do you call the grasshoppers? Thank you. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Mr. President and members, today is the Behavioral Health Caucus, and we will be talking about the updates with the Colorado crisis system that we have been putting into place with legislation that we have approved and funding that we've approved across the state in both the urban, suburban, and the rural areas. And I entreat you to come and get the latest of the latest. It's at noon in HCR 107 today, the Behavioral Health Caucus. Thank you.
Senator Newell.
Senator Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Newell, would you indulge me for just a moment, please? I was asked to be the male model, but I decided that I would let Senator Newell model my jacket because I think it's a perfect fit. So now, members, you can see what a jacket looks like with our new logo on it. I think Senator Newell, you look marvelous. Can't believe it doesn't fit.
Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, members. Tomorrow's Health Information Technology Advocacy Day at the Capitol, and they will be in front of the old Supreme Court in the morning. I encourage you to visit them. And then 11:30 ADA Rally West Steps. Thanks.
Further announcements. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the conclusion of the announcements, I would move that the Senate adjourn to 9 a.m. Thursday, March 12th.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The Senate will be adjourned until 9 a.m. Thursday, March 12th.